Abdullah, if there's a way for us to get Instagram going, that'd be fantabulous. I don't know if there's a way to do it after the fact. I don't want to mess up like I did before. Let's give people just a minute or two to start getting on. So we send out emails, we send out text messages.
I did get the correspondence.
You got it as well. All right. Let's give people a minute.
Should I be able to see my own live on my phone? Check
I
box.
would think so.
It's done, but I don't see it when I look. Figure it out.
I see it.
Oh,
Says
good.
11 attendees. Did you pull up the just your general feed?
Let me do that.
And is there a way to do that you're aware of to do the LinkedIn Live after the fact, or do we have to end it and restart it? You got it? And let me know if you need the stream key, because I have that pulled up. All right, I would say let's get started for the 11 folks in the room. Hey, Yanika, welcome. Daria, welcome. Hey, my name is Omari Kamal. I am the founder of Net. Welcome. Good afternoon to you as well. I'm the founder and CEO of P&G Advisors. P&G stands for Profit and Growth, pun very much intended. We are a bookkeeping, tax advisory, and business consulting firm. And what's different about us and other accountants, hey, Angelica, welcome, and us and other accounting firms is that we care not to stick a fancy group of financial statements in your face and say, hey, here, congratulations on getting this done for yourself. We are singularly interested in that your business be profitable, that it grow, that it ultimately work as hard for you as you work for it. And so that's our work. And one of the things that we have endeavored to do inside of our broader commitment for that the small business community be served in a very powerful way is that we thought to bring together a group of our friends and people who have a similar commitment, albeit from a different vantage point than the accounting world. So we have our sister, Attorney Shara Kamal, small business attorney extraordinaire. Say hello to the good people.
Hello, good people.
Attorney Kendall Anderson, estate planning attorney extraordinaire. Both of them also have great backgrounds in insurance. I'll have some inside jokes about attorneys a little later that Shara and Kendall are very well aware of. But let's just say that the attorneys and I have a very special relationship that I'm sure you all will pick up on at some point or another. Yes, that's right. Let's call it that. All love. And then we have our sister Christina Wynn. Christina is a business broker extraordinaire, business intermediary, and also she has a very established platform and is one of the best of breed providers in the entire Chicagoland area, and I would venture to say around the country with respect to helping people to become certified for the variety of minority certifications that exist. And she's an acclaimed author in that space as well. And she's a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful business resource for everybody. So look, welcome. Thank you all for being here. Thank you so much for joining us. I mean, this is what I call the board. And I'll say a little bit more about what that means in just a second to the folks who are listening on. But anyway, so any that guys, you all, anything you want to say just to be here and heard and known? You guys, anything?
Thank you for jumping on the opportunity to put this together. Cool. Sometimes it's those random aha, ideas that you just need to jump on and not do too much thinking about because you've got an awesome, amazing vision for this, and I'm excited to see where you take it.
Yeah, me too. Yeah. We're going to see where it goes. All right, good. And just with that, why don't we just start with some basic introductions too? So who would be willing to kick us off? Just say a little bit about, I introduced you from my vantage point, but if you could just say a little bit for your business, what you're engaged in, how you like best to work with your clients, and ultimately what what had you be here engaged in this conversation?
Well, I'll start.
I'll start off. How you doing?
Oh, yeah, Christina.
No,
Then
go
Kim.
ahead,
Go ahead.
Kristen.
Oh, okay, cool. So yeah, thank you for putting this together and sharing it with my network. I called it like a problem solving group.
Yeah.
And so I think that's something that more than anything, just talking to business people or people in the space is like there are so many problems. And so to bring these perspectives together is really nice. But I'm Christina. I'm a business broker, like Omari mentioned. I work with the organization called Transworld Business Advisors. So we do everything from Main Street to upper middle market deals. We work with the mom and pop. Like the smallest deal that I've sold was $37,000. I have a, $2.5 million. I think our office's largest listing is around $5 million. So we really operate totally within the space of people that you might know, all the way to people that you might aspire to be like. So my main ask for those listening in is if you know somebody who has a business, our baby boomers are aging out, and specifically in the minority communities, their children don't always want it. Ask the question. We don't want to see the doors closed. We see a lot of businesses closed that can be transferred to another owner. We get really great referral fees, so it's worth you having the conversation, and I would love to be able to support just not only, that person who owns the business to have something to walk away with, not just a great story to tell, but something that can really live past them and then fund their next phase of life. So that's a little bit more about me and what I'm doing.
Love it. Thank you for being here, Christina. That's really great. We're going to get into some of the points that you raised in just a moment. So thank you for that. Kendall, you want to go ahead and then Char?
Yes, I will. Hi, everyone. My name is Kendall Anderson. I'm a estate planning attorney. So the hard truth is, if you don't plan to transition or transfer your property to someone else, the state will end up being your partner. Because when you die, they have a set of rules called intestate, and I don't think you're going to like them very well. You just want to make sure things are passed down. You want to make sure things are organized correctly, because if you don't set your business up in a way that's able to be sold or transferred or protected, you don't really own a business. You have a job, and that's not really what you want. You don't want a job. You want a business. And I would just, for small business owners, there's not a lot of time to do a lot of research. So I would employ you to reach out to some of these experts on this panel to try to steer you into a place of better positioning.
Nice. Cool. Thank you, my brother. All right. Char?
I'll keep it short and sweet. I've been practicing for almost 23 years now, and grew up in a family of entrepreneurs. Decided I did not want to work for anyone else. Even coming out of law school, started my own practice right after I became licensed, and kind of hit the ground running with running the practice, running the business. And many of my clients are business owners. While they may operate in the space of real estate, whether they're brokers, mortgage professionals, of course, the clients who are buyers, sellers, investors, those investors have entities. So whether I'm helping them to establish the entity such that they can launch off in the area of real estate, I come up on some of the same issues in helping them establish the business. They have to keep it running and maintain it. It's not just about the start, but how you maintain it. And, some critical functions of being a business owner are making sure that you understand that, you really do need to have an operating agreement, something that can help you, maintain the business and operate according to how you said you would, right? You really do need to file that annual report, so there are some to-dos that you need to make sure you have in place before you can even begin to think about selling. You want to have your business in order and set that proper foundation with good legal counsel. And as Kendall mentioned, thinking about continuity of the business after you've long passed or become disabled, that's, what I do. I help my clients, really begin to set the foundation, build the business, and then think about what it looks like to do succession planning and continue the business after they've decided to retire or once they've passed away.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And you can kind of tell from, Shar's introduction, really from what, Kendall had to say and what Christina had to say, there's some overlap. Obviously, there's stuff that, Christina does that ventures over into the legal world, and then there's some stuff that Shar and Kendall do that has to do with what might be pertinent to, say, a financial advisor, and then of course accounting is in there and whatnot. And that's really the point of our of all of our getting together, that there are some issues that require a multi-viewed, multifaceted sort of approach. And so I thought it would be really cool to bring this particular group of super friends together who all have a particular angle and vantage point of the small business sort of view, and begin to pick their brains about the various subjects that we all have seen that affect business owners at large. And so I said a little about who I was before, but for those of you all who don't know me, I'll say a little bit more now, and I think it'll give some context to this whole gathering and how we want to continue this and have it expand over time. And so I was telling Christina earlier today, there was a brilliant book I read, and I'd highly recommend to all of you who are listening, and it's called Barbarians at the Gate. Don't be afraid. When you look it up on Amazon, it's about a 600 some odd page book, but do not be intimidated by that at all. It is a page turner. I promise you. It's a true story about this guy. Kendall's laughing because I say that all the time about the various books I read. My father was a librarian, so I read it where I'm always recommending a book to somebody, but I'll try to keep that in check. But Barbarians at the Gate is a powerful book. It's my favorite, in fact. And I don't say that a lot about. I mean, I really do have one favorite, and Barbarians at the Gate is the one. And there's lots I could tell you about Barbarians at the Gate, but Barbarians at the Gate was the book that taught me what I believe I know about what real wealth is, like what real money. Like the joke I was saying to Christina earlier today was like, look, imagine, I call you up one day and I'm like, hey, where you at? And you're like, oh, I'm in the south of France. I'm like, oh, okay, I'm in Germany. Look, I'm about to send my jet to pick you up so we can have lunch in Dubai. And I need to talk to you about this thing I'm doing, right? And it wasn't like a big thing for these characters in this book. I mean, that was just how they live. And it just kind of taught me that there's a segment of our global population that are so wealthy and so powerful, and they live much different lives than the rest of us do. It will be astonishing to most of us. And I'm not saying that to underline that or say that's the right thing to do, but it really did get me into this. Hey, Ray, welcome. Ray says he loves my book suggestions. Thank you very much, Ray. I appreciate that. But I say that to say not to say that that's the right way to live or that's what we should all be aspiring to, but it really started me down this inquiry of how do the truly wealthy and powerful and successful get to the place that they are. And there's this one point in the book, and I could say a lot of different ways that this book sort of described this to me, but there's one scene in the book that really resonated with me, and what it had was the CEO of the protagonist of the book, this guy named F. Ross Johnson. He's sitting at his board table, and around this board table are all the CEOs of like these Fortune 100, Fortune 50 companies, the CEO of American Express, the CEO of Home Depot, the CEO of Bank of America. All of these folks are sitting around his board table, and they're giving him advice on how to get out of this bind that he's gotten himself into. And it dawns on me at some point in the dialogue that they're having in this particular part of the story that, oh, you know what's interesting? Now they're sitting around the table helping F. Ross Johnson figure out how to preserve his millions or billions. But the next month, they'll probably all be sitting around the table helping the CEO of Bank of America figure out how to preserve his millions, or the CEO of Home Depot how to preserve his millions, or the CEO of Sara Lee preserving her millions, and so forth and so on. Like there's this round robin sort of mastermind group that exists at the higher levels of business and power. And the question that sort of seeped its way into my spirit was, I wonder if something like that exists for small and mid-sized businesses. And of course, the answer was immediately no. It doesn't exist. It mostly, my experience was with the business owners that I have the opportunity to connect with. Maybe me and their other, maybe one or two other trusted business advisors are the only ones that they have to kind of talk through and run things by on a day-to-day basis, but mostly they're pretty isolated. They're busy all the time. They don't have a lot of time to really take and study or read or just be with themselves, much less work through whatever the next business issue is. So part of this idea of the board was to bring a group of people together who could serve as that sort of de facto board of advisors for people who could sorely use it. Doesn't need to take a whole heck of a lot of time, but if we carve out a time, say once a week or so, just to say, hey, look, let's take some time and ask us anything. Ask us anything you want. You have 2 attorneys. You have somebody who's very well esteemed in the world of mergers, acquisitions, dispositions, and buys and sells at the business level. There are a few other people who are going to be joining us in weeks to come. There's a commercial insurance agent who's going to be a broker who's going to be joining us next week. There's a marketing consultant who's going to be joining us next week. There's a financial advisor who's going to be joining us in the coming weeks. So when we say, like, we are really out to be like the business Avengers at the end of this, and this is going to be your personal board of directors roundtable that you are welcome for no cost at all to come in and to engage with us. And let me just put the link. I'm going to put a link in the chat, everybody. And Abdullah, if you can make sure this goes out to all of our other channels as well, I'd appreciate it. So if you click that link, that'll let you into our waiting room. And then if you like, we'll bring you into our stream. So you'll be in our little round table. So we're going to see if we can situate it where you're like in the middle, and Shar and Kendall and Christina are all around you. And if you have a question, a thought, a concern, an issue, something that you're dealing with, that you're working through, that you would like our support and our guidance around, we're here and we're available for you. And if there's something more involved that we need to get into outside of this sort of webinar format, then we'll let you know a way to get in touch with any one of us that would be best suited to serve that particular issue, and we'll work with you that way. But that's the whole design of this whole thing, and that's my intention for how it'd be supported. Does that make sense, everybody? I think it does. It does, right?
Definitely.
Yeah, good. Now, in lieu of somebody raising their hand and saying, you know what, no, I want to engage with you guys, I want to put myself on the hot seat. We're just going to talk. We're gonna have various subjects that I think would be useful, no matter whether you engage actively or just kind of hang back and listen. But
Larry, do you mind if I interject to put a pin in something that you said?
Yeah, please.
Each one of us, he's characterizing it so graciously as experts, but each of us individually are small business owners. And I can tell you that there's numerous times in the day and night that I've been able to pick up the phone to call one of these individuals to work through a problem. And that's invaluable.
Yeah.
I just invite everybody to really just tap into this, because you may not have that access, and we're invested in your growth. So I just want to kind of reinforce what you were saying earlier.
No, that's a brilliant idea, man, and or perspective on that. You're absolutely right. So we're coming at it from 2 angles. One is as advisors, the other as people who are founders of our own particular practices and businesses and whatnot. And so we're giving it to you both ways. So we're very much so in the mastermind with you. So really, really great. So that said, the topic that I'm going to throw out for all of you all, and this is a topic, I mean, when I created it initially, I thought to myself, like, shoot, I really wish we could have the full slate of everybody here to discuss it, but that just means we'll just have to do a part 2 or part 3 on it. But the idea is called Build to Sell. Last book recommendation of the day, I promise you. Build to Sell is by a guy named John Warrilow. And his suggestion is that you should build your business to sell it. Not necessarily that you have to, but that you should look at your business in the same way you look at a real estate or any other kind of asset that you have. I mean, yes, a lot of us got into our businesses for passion, for talent. I think like I heard somebody say, Shara say, like, I don't want a boss, right? And you got into it and you found out you had 100 bosses and your clients, right? But whatever the case might be, you got in it for whatever you got in it for. But now there's this idea of building it to the point where it actually could be sold and exchanged and disposed of if you needed it to. So I just want to really just invite your thoughts and your reflections on that. And I'll start with Christina, and then I'll go to Kendall. Kendall, I know you have a hard stop at 1:30, but I want to just invite your thoughts on that and really just share from your vantage point. What are some of the challenges you've seen with the clients that you've worked with? What are perhaps some of the breakthroughs and maybe unique perspectives that you've come up with as you've been doing the work that you've been doing?
I think one of the biggest areas of that people can be educated on is when to sell. Most people are taking their foot off the brake. I'm tired, I'm not excited about it anymore, so let me go ahead and try to sell it. Well, you're not going to get the value that you're looking for. And even a lot of what we do as brokers is really good marketing, telling a story, helping you to see the opportunity, especially if the books aren't great. Right. So now I'm trying to take you back 5 years. No, they used to have 25 employees, when they were at their peak, they were, but buyers aren't going to buy that. And I think that's the biggest thing. And that's why I kind of mentioned earlier, it's like, if you see a decline happening, like I can't be everywhere, like ask the question like, hey, are you all interested in selling this business? Like I don't know the script to tell somebody, but my point is, it's when to sell. So how do we value a business? Obviously it's the numbers, right? But for people who don't know how to go through a true valuation process, this is the easiest way I can explain it. We take something called the seller's discretionary earnings. That is your net profit plus your add backs. So if you're running your car through the business, your health insurance through the business, you're paying your rent. These are expenses the next owner will not have to take on. So we can add that back to your bottom line. And then we take a multiple of that number. It's typically like a 3 multiple from the last 12 months of, the last year of that net profit number plus the add backs to get you that SDE number. We typically take a multiple of 3. That's how lenders also look at it. One of the marketing strategies that we use is to get a business pre-qualified through a lender to say, hey, a lender is saying they will lend on this business based solely on the numbers. We're not talking about the infrastructure with employees or systems that are in place or work in progress that's in place, working capital. We are simply talking about from the SDE number times a 3 multiple, this lender is willing to lend against this business. So it's really a art, but the biggest part of it is, I think you have to be working with some type of professional because you just don't know. You don't even know what the value of let's just start with, what is the value of your business? Let's start there. Okay. Right. You don't have a clue. And then on top of that, you don't know how much money you even need to sustain whatever type of lifestyle you're trying. So it's a step before me. I think the first step is a really good accountant and a financial advisor or planner to help you to understand, what are you dealing with monetarily? So are you ready to sell, or do you need to work on growing the business the next couple of years and then get it to this number in revenue, this net profit number, then you sell. So that's my perspective. No,
it's really great, Christine. I appreciate that. Kendall, anything for you about that?
Yes, and I think this will be a good handoff to Shara because I only have a few minutes. It's important to realize that there are multiple assets to your business. You have the brick and mortar, and then you have the I guess the collective rights to the business, like your for a loss of words, but the actual business plan, your clients, your
intellectual property.
That's what I was trying to think of. I drew a blank. I'm moving too fast. So you need to be able to evaluate all those, and you need to have all those set up in a place where they can be transferred readily. You don't want to wait to the last minute when Christina has a great buyer for your business and she's did her marketing, and then we find out it's a bunch of loops that you hadn't done that could possibly cost you money. I can tell you the numerous, we're getting ready to sell businesses and they have liens on the properties, or you have a trust that's not really set up the correct way. So I would just employ you to kind of just get a healthy checkup. Let somebody go through and make sure that your business is in tip-top condition. And if there's a little medicine here or there we can give you to be a little bit more healthy, you can be prepared to sell when that time comes so you can maximize your profits.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you, Kendall. All right,
And
Char.
I just
can I say one thing real quick?
Yeah, please go, Christina.
Because it's important. Like the broker is literally a broker. When you think about it, we are the intermediary to get the deal done. I got to keep both parties on the train track.
Yep.
We heavily partner with accountants and attorneys. Like, I am not an attorney. Do not
Mhm.
start throwing all these papers. This I don't. You have to invest in an attorney. So I think it's also understanding the investment that's required to sell your business. You have to invest in an attorney. We're not going to work with you if you don't make that investment. You really should have a really good accountant. I mean, how do you expect us to be able to communicate your financial status with somebody and you don't even know it? So I just want to say that to help people to really understand, like, this is truly a trifecta, a trifecta. You know, it's not just me. Okay.
Yeah, no, it's great.
I just recently had a conversation, and I started this 5 a.m. club. And at our last Friday morning conversation, we started talking about the business and some of the things you should begin doing to set this foundation. And I had a closing yesterday with a client who had amassed this huge real estate portfolio. She's in her late 70s now, ready to retire. Her daughter was with her at the closing, and we were talking through like what this looks like for her to pass the business on. She has no idea or clue what the value of the business is. And I said, wow, wouldn't it be nice if business owners, as they start to get older and decide, hey, it's time for me to transition this, business to a loved one. Some loved ones don't want to be part of the business. Some do want to take it on. But it's good to start having regular conversations with those that, may succeed you and may be interested. Wouldn't it be nice to have that annual conversation with them about the value of the business, such that they can make an informed decision about whether it's going to be sold or whether or not they take on management of the business for X number of years following the life of its, original owner. So, that valuation conversation is critical. Around annual report time, we just check off the regular, pay the $100, but do we really give thought to what the business is really earning and how profitable it is and whether or not it could or should be sold, and what that continuity of the business looks like in terms of a dollar figure.
Yeah. And what I hear and what all of you all are saying is that, just planning is the key, right? We hear that a lot. We know that conceptually, but to really like get that within the context of small business ownership, I think it requires a little massaging. And I think it's a lot of what these conversations need to be about. And that's why really, Christina, as we kick this off, I wanted to kind of the spotlight to be upon you, because I think, and you kind of said it and you both sort of hit at it, this idea of exiting your business being an afterthought,
Right.
you could say is the issue and the problem, and what leads to perhaps easily 70-80% of the issues that most small business owners get themselves into. Why do I say that? I say that because like you were just saying a moment ago, Shar, like that this idea of valuing your operation. See, most people relate to accountants and really folk who do what we do. Like, I'll pursue it when I need to pursue it. I'll hire an accountant when I got something to count. If I had $1 for every time I've heard that, like, no, that's the absolute worst time to hire an accountant. Like, no, and what it signifies is that there is a baseline level of thinking and planning that has not been done. And on one hand, we appreciate and we applaud the I love it. Somebody said start with the end in mind. Exactly. You begin with the end in mind. That's how you ensure, what no success is ensured, but that's how you mitigate as much as you possibly can, as much of the risks and the issues that you're going to run into when you have thought through some of the basic things you're going to run into. And one of the things that I suggest that you should have thought through, even at the very beginning, is what my exit is going to be. It doesn't need to be precise, but it does need to be thought about on some level, especially given you, and this is the second part of the conversation I want to just round robin with you both. And this is something I put out to a lot of our folks.
Before you move on, Omari, though, think about like with your homes, how often you look at the value of your home, and thinking about the investments and improvements that you make in your home. And, some people say, when you reach this value, I'm ready to sell, right? operated our businesses the same way,
or at
we
least
take
have a
on,
conversation. At least I'm ready to talk. And then
we're looking at rent and like, all right, we're at, this
Right.
is what Rent saying the value is right now. Should we? Should we not?
Yeah.
What's happening in the area? This is happening. Maybe we should wait 5 years and then take a look at value. So I mean, I think if we kind of look at it as easy, it can be as easy as that type of conversation if we knew how to value our businesses.
Yeah, it really can. And what it does is it jogs these other set of thoughts. And this is the other thing that is really important to us in terms of how we look at our clients from our vantage point. They have the variety of their goals. But when we look at each and every one of our clients, we look at it from the standpoint of, okay, look, everybody, work has changed in America, and it's changing every day with the new political climate that we're in the midst of now. They're long since gone are the days where you could certainly one member of the household can work and support the whole family, but now even two parents or two family members being able to work and support the entirety of the household has changed. Being able to get a job and just keep head and nose above water and not make any uncomfortable sacrifices. We are at a point now where entrepreneurship isn't just relegated to the bold ones of us who want to jump out there and risk it all for it. You need something going on. And for those who are established business owners and they're clear, like, look, this is me, this is what I'm doing. The question becomes, how does, like you were saying, Christina, how does this value of my business fit with my overall goals? And have I planned well enough to make sure that when I do decide to exit, and by exit, I mean, like, yeah, you could sell it outright to some buyer, some financial buyer, some strategic buyer. You could hire a CEO and promote yourself to chairman of the board. You could give it away to the kids. You could sell it to your staff. There are any number of options you have for exiting your business, but each and every one of those exit strategies requires that you have a sense of what that business is actually worth. And what I find is that most small business owners, their books may be a hot mess, Christina, but they know revenue, they know expenses, they know profits, they know losses, they know assets, they know liabilities, but they very seldom understand value.
For sure. There you are.
And the time to start dealing with that is now. But but my question to you all is that when is what are some of the major things that you see that small business owners miss from your vantage point? Like in an ideal sense, what would be best for you all in terms of when you meet with a client? Like what is your like ideal situation to work with? And I know it's probably rare, but can you think of a time when you have either run into someone where that was a model of what it is that we're talking about, or through a very short time in working with either of you were able to put some things in place and actually make the difference that wanted to be made?
You want to go first?
So I have had, most of my clients are in the real estate space, and the best client to work with is the one that has really created a system for their business and has their books in order. So, those sales of property where the rent roll is together, it's updated, leases are, in files, and, they have the documentation, and, they can really show, what's happening on a monthly basis with respect to, income and expenses with respect to their business. They have, kept up on improvements. They have, documentation and, resources, contacts to, reflect, what improvements have been made, and, how the properties have been managed. All of that they can document and show evidence for the value. That is the best client. But oftentimes you have another good client who's willing, take the advice and move, actually, put it into practice and implement. So that's kind of two different ends of the spectrum. But the long and short of it is that the documentation and the evidence, showing that evidence and keeping a good set of books and having that system in place is what makes for, the best deal when you go to sell or, what have you. So that's critical. And then having those advisors, having, the one that has a team of advisors that I can, if the client doesn't know it, they say, I have an accountant. I want to connect you with my accountant. I have an attorney. I want to connect you with them because they know more than I know, but they're willing, to pass off, pass me off to that person that can answer those questions. So, the team, the documentation that can support it, and the system in place is what makes for a solid business from my perspective.
Yeah.
I would echo everything,
Mhm.
every single thing. I am amazed at the amount of people who do not do their taxes. I am baffled. In fact, I said, "How are you living?" Like, we
Yeah.
just not. I'm baffled that people call themselves business owners
Mm.
and are not. They don't have any person working with their finance. I'm just baffled.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
okay, I'm sorry.
What you should join my world.
Baffled.
You should see some of the stuff that I have to deal with. I get that. Yeah,
Seriously.
it's and what I my joke with people, Christina, is that they how can I say this? It's like the IRS will let you get away with it too. They'll let you go 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 years
Mhm.
before they send you a notice or a bill. But when they come, they're coming with all the penalties. They're coming with all the liens. They're coming with all the thunder and the agents and whatnot. And so it's I don't want to call it entrapment. It's a little bit of like, just kind of letting people kind of get themselves dug into a hole, but that still doesn't alleviate the responsibility of folks from really thinking about it. But it's easy to do. And what's that old expression? What's easy to do is also easy not to do.
Yeah.
Um, and I think that's what they fall into. And I think that's what has conversations like these be so useful and available for folks, but there's the raw side of it, right? There's the getting oneself in the trouble, but then there's like the other side, you all. And I want to just have you all speak to this as well. Like, what could be possible? What could be available if folks really got their heads around this? Like, one of the things that comes with us, with working with us, yes, we do the books, yes, we'll do those taxes, but we also do a business valuation. No matter, that's core to our business. Like, you can't be an accounting client of ours without understanding right up front in our onboarding process, here's what your business is worth right now. And I'll just tell you all, it is for many people depressing, frankly, because they've been they've been working in this thing for a while, and to see that, wow, my business is only worth $150,000 or $200,000 or $300,000, even though I might be earning $1.5 million in revenue, and I'm profiting whatever I'm profiting. When you assign that 3-time, 4-time multiplier to it, Christina, it's like, wow, that's not enough to get me to where I'm ultimately trying to go. But in the moment of dealing with that and grappling with that, there's this sort of metamorphosis that I see happening, this sort of rearranging of
Absolutely.
molecules
Yes.
that happens that is phenomenal. And I just wonder if you could speak a little bit more. Uh, uh, I don't know if you called it this, Christina, or not, but it's like, in my mind, I heard it like the silver tsunami is what they're calling it, like this transfer of wealth that you were just talking about. Like, so there's the people who are looking to sell their businesses, but then there are others of you who might be listening to this recording or on this live that might be interested in buying a business. And even if you had never considered it before, I would invite you to consider that one of the things that's happening right now in the world is that our like I'm in, I think all of us on this call are on our 40s, right, or late 30s, and the generation ahead of us, they're retiring and they're getting out of their businesses, and businesses left and right. I'm not talking about little mom and pop businesses necessarily. I mean, like, businesses that are making millions and tens of millions of dollars are closing their doors, shutting down, worthless. That value never to come back again, at least in that particular space. And there's opportunities there. It is the equivalent of money lying on the ground waiting for somebody else to come and pick up and take certain balls and run with it. I wonder, Christina, could you just kind of speak to that wealth transfer that is present, that you're just not reading about on blogs and newspapers, not near as much as you would think
Correct.
you should be?
I mean, I would say probably 80% of our sellers are baby boomers,
Mm.
probably more than that,
Yeah.
so To kind of go back to the conversation of the ideal client
Mhm.
from a buyer's perspective. If you know, I think one of the things that I like to encourage people to do now, instead of starting a business, consider acquiring a business, right?
Mm.
Because at least it has some infrastructure, some brand awareness in the marketplace. You're not
Yeah.
starting from scratch. It might have some customers, but how do you financially prepare yourself for this? Where is the money coming from?
Right.
Again, I'm
Right.
baffled by a lot of the conversations that I hear because there's so much information on the internet that is just not the truth. It's like, yeah, all you gotta do is this. And then, you just go get your business line of credit for really, and it's like, who's telling y'all this stuff?
Yeah, right.
Like what, so when you talk about preparation, it's like we got to put we got to grow up. Like
Yeah.
we got to get out of this fantasy land. Okay.
Mm.
It's black and white.
Mm-hmm.
You got to do your taxes. You have to have some money coming in if you think you're going to get any lending support. There are loans out there for acquisitions, the
Yeah.
SBA 7A loan,
Mm.
for commercial property acquisition, the SBA 504 loan. That's where you're going to get more favorable terms as far as the down payment is concerned and the latency of that particular lending tool, right? But like, you have to be prepared to access that capital. We should start thinking more collaboratively. The reality is a lot of minority people individually don't have the financial capacity to get this money. So what I see on the buyer side from other types of buyers, they are collaborative. A lot of times, if you're not coming as a buyer looking to expand your business through a merger,
Yeah.
right? Like you're probably an individual coming out of corporate, you might be a husband and a wife, and it's like, we want to do this thing together, but don't be afraid of the word collaboration. You have to find people you align with and trust. You need to operate an agreement or some bylaws in place, right? Put
Right.
this stuff on paper and stop, do it the right way. It's not impossible. It ain't even rocket science. Like,
Right.
it's like, let's use our common sense. We live in America. We got to file taxes, period. Like, this is where y'all live. Stop trying to think you can finesse the system and operate in the system like everybody else is. And I promise you, you'll probably get a favorable outcome. It won't be easy, but I'm sure you can get a favorable outcome. So
Yeah.
I know that's a lot, but it really just, again,
No, it's not.
baffles my mind with the things that I hear and see.
Follow the leader, like those that are earning millions and billions. They have some tax shelters, they have some ways to do it, and they're doing it the right way. But there are different ways of doing it.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
studying how they're doing it, is going to be critical, and having that board of advisors that can lead you. Some people just they stop and don't do it because of fear, and just not having the willingness to align yourself with the advisors that can lead you the right way.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah, and yeah, just it's for those of you who are listening in. I mean, I want you to know that your voice, your contribution, your experience matters as well. So I put that link in the chat earlier. Abdullah, if you could put it in one more time. I mean, if there's something that you have a question for, if there's something that you just want to share, that you want to contribute to the conversation, you're more than welcome to, because I mean that's going to be the power of this particular group. We do look at it like it's not just us presenting to you, like laying something on you. The design of this is that it would actually be a conversation, an engagement. And then look, and I'll speak for myself, but I'm sure this is the case for Shara and Christina and everybody else who would join it. We don't know. We'll let you know. Hey, we don't know. We'll find out. We'll figure out the answer. We'll get back to you. But in the process of sharing and dialoguing, creating this conversation, we all grow, we all expand, because it's one of the things that I love most about the folks that I get to work with is that at a point after you have your fancy car and your nice house wherever, burbs, downtown, whatever the case may be, the majority of the people who are running businesses that have the opportunity to scale are extraordinarily, I find, generous people. And they want to create opportunities for other people. And if you're looking for a tie that binds all of us who are entrepreneurs, I would suggest to you that it's that. It's not now, and it never has been just for us. And so between now and the next time we all get together, I really invite you to really clue into that, tap into that, and really think that through. Like, why am I really doing this? What is my why? And let me see if I can get some language to that as much as possible. And then likewise, how does that connect with the real value that exists in the marketplace. I was a defining moment in my career was when I was working in private equity, and I am putting this thing called a cap table together. And for those of you who aren't familiar with what a cap table is, it's basically a spreadsheet that shows the percentage owners of each owner in a business. And this is where, what Shar was talking about earlier about the operating agreements become so critical and so important. But on the financial side of things, there's this document that shows, okay, Christina has 5%, Omari has 20%, Shar has 40%, and so forth and so on. And then it also shows the value of that entity and how those percentages translate to the value, and how that value will become diluted or more concentrated as somebody sells out of their shares or more shares are bought into, et cetera, et cetera. It's called a cap table, right? And so it was interesting because I was putting this cap table together for a growing organization. And it was designed to show that, okay, here are the owners right now, but as the investment dollars start rolling in, here's how Omari's 20% turns into 15%, how Christina's 10% turns into 12%, and so forth and so on, as certain benchmarks are met. And it was something about, now they taught me how to do this in school, and I learned how to do it even better once I went to work. But the thing that really hit me as I was putting this thing together was, oh, wow, there's certain people in the country, in the world, who earn their money. And then there's a certain other group of people who make money, and they're not the same. Mm-hmm. And so I began to think about, me being at the end of the day, just a kid from the South Side of Chicago by way of the Delta of Mississippi. And I wondered how many people who I grew up around, who I know, who I looked up to, and who look up to me, who really understand the difference between going out there and working for it and earning it. And there's nothing wrong with that. But then there's another group of people who we need to actually make it, literally make it, like value everybody. And this is what I kind of want to leave everybody with. Just the thought is create it. It's literally created, which isn't to diminish its power, but it's created. Like someone asked me once if I knew what real money was. What is it? Is it the paper or the metal in your pocket or your purse? Is it the numbers on your screen when you check your bank account? Is it some precious metal? Like, what is money exactly? And I fumbled with the question for a while, and he finally just gave it to me. He says, Omari, consider that money is a conversation. If I can have conversations with you, and in that side of that conversation, you can see value for yourself, right in that moment is where money is created. If I told you that there was a Lamborghini parked outside and it's yours for $100, I don't care if you don't have $100 in your pocket. You're going to go find $100 from somewhere to get that Lamborghini because you know it's worth $250,000. So you're going to find that, and because I'll take it for 100, I'll go sell it for 100,000. Even they're going to buy it at a discount, and I'm going to walk away with $100,000. And there's some version of that for all of us. And whether you're running a business right now and you know that there's value there, but you don't know how to tap into it, or you're thinking about starting a business, or you're at the tail end and you're thinking about selling your business and capitalizing the value and getting it to an optimal amount of value possible, there's something about that for you. There's some ability to create that and engage in that for yourself, such that you can really get all that's coming to you and the people that you care about, get what's coming to them. So
I have a question.
So please go ahead.
I have a question. So when you are a professional, right, and you feel like you are the business, right? How do you determine value for a potential sale of the business? So from a lawyer's perspective, or an accountant's perspective, or a real estate broker's perspective, how can you place a value when you are essentially the business?
That's a great
How do you place
question.
a value on it?
It lowers the value tremendously. Part of value is the infrastructure of a staff. Like if you have an absentee or a semi-absentee business, I guarantee you it's going to be more highly valued than an owner-operated business, simply because I can assume that means you have infrastructure. It's kind of running without you. So it does. That's a great question. That's a great question, because even when I'm explaining to people who are buyers and helping them to understand, like, okay, let me know what your budget is, right? You're telling me you want to have a laundromat because you think it's a semi-absentee business, right? You feel like you're not going to have to be there, which is not necessarily the case. But okay, you can afford $150,000 business. I can guarantee you will be an owner operator, or at minimum, you'll have like maybe one part-time person. I can tell you just based off of what the business is listed at, because it's lower in value.
Brilliant. Yeah, the way I would answer that, just to piggyback off of what Christina is saying, the more valuable that you are to the business, the less valuable the business is.
That's good.
And that's there's no.
That's good. That's so good. Like, yeah.
And there are really 8 drivers that we look at when we look to explain value to our clients, and then likewise help them to help it grow. One is what Christina was talking about earlier, which is performance, financial performance, which takes 2 forms. Like, one is, okay, what are your profits? Okay. And then 2 is, when do you get your money, on the front end or the back end? Okay. That matters from a valuation standpoint. Another thing that is very critical in determining valuation is how, not just independent of this business of you, the founder, but how independent of it is it of any one customer, any one vendor, any one employee. You have key employees. They can't run without the business. People who smart money knows, okay, if Jethro leaves, I know this business is worth it. So I'm not going to give you as much money if I know that all of my bets have to be placed on Jethro. So there's that part. There's how satisfied are your customers? There's, are you in a growing market or a declining market? And then there's how you get your money. Is it recurring? Is it not recurring? Is it seasonal? Is it not? So there are metrics that are assigned to each and every one of these drivers, as we call them. And depending on how you rate in each and every one of those metrics will ultimately determine the value. But the number one thing, Shar, that kills value for businesses is over dependence on the owner founder.
And that's the difference between a certified valuator and a person like we know how to do I call it a loose valuation. I didn't take into consideration any of the 8 points aside from what's the SDE, what's the 3 multiple. This is about but this is why you want to work with a professional. Like, understand the story, because if you can understand the story, then you have an opportunity to make a change to change that story's narrative. But that was a great way to just break down like the different components that add to the value of the business.
Yeah, absolutely.
And a great way to begin thinking if you want to make some changes right in your business. Okay, maybe I need to start hiring right in these areas so that I can start to take that step back and create those systems, right? So that we start to create and build that infrastructure that can be, the driver of value, so that the business can be sold, right?
Sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That was a great question.
Yeah, it really was. All right, Shara, Christina, can we do this again next week?
Absolutely.
Yeah, we can.
Yeah.
All right, good. So here's my intention for next week, that we would have a full cast next week. I mean, this is our first time out, so we're still building this proverbial plane as we fly it. But my intention would be that next week we have our financial advisor on deck. We have our marketing guru expert on deck. We have our commercial insurance broker on deck. So we have a full squad and a very robust conversation. And we'll have a great topic available to you. Here's what we'll talk about. I'll put it out there to you all right now. What's the difference between growing and scaling? I would suggest to you that growth isn't scaling, and scaling isn't necessarily always growing. But what does it actually look like to put systems and processes in place such that you grow responsibly and grow with all the stress and harriedness that often comes with business expansion? So everybody, I invite you all to come back and be with us 1 p.m. Central, 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific next week. And we're going to get into that subject of, I would call it a part 2 of being built to sell, but growth versus scale. So Christina, Char, any parting words for you as we get out of here?
All right, I'm going to start doing my research on the difference between growth and scaling.
Yeah, and I think just stay connected. This was a great conversation, and
Yeah.
I hope that people got something out of it. And connect with us on LinkedIn if you're not connected, so that, like Kenneth said earlier, you can utilize us as a resource as you're processing what we talked about today.
Right.
Brilliant.
That's
All
great.
right, cool. All right, well, look, thank you both. It's been amazing being with you. I knew it would be. And thank you all for who joined us. Yeah, like Christina said, stay connected with us. We're here at your disposal for whatever use we can be to you. So take care, guys. Have a great rest of your week and weekend, and we'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.